couple of videos for you. First one is showing a knot that you may not be familiar with, called the RP knot or Royal Polaris knot. It's another means of connecting your solid braid or hollow, but primarily designed for solid, to your leader. Not a bad knot, as you'll see when we do the demonstration, and it's pretty doggone quick to tie. Typically, I've gone with the Bimini to Albright. That's where I've been most familiar. It takes a little bit of time, but makes a very good connection. And we'll work at higher tests. I've done over 200 pounds with the thing on heavy string, but it is a rather bulky knot, and it takes a little bit more time. Some guys on the light stuff will use uni to unis or double up on the unis. That is a good connection, I think, for lighter line. It's not one that I tend to use. I've seen it break, and when we do the testing on it, it doesn't come out as well as the Bimini to Albright. Tony Pinion knot is another one that gets some favor for the light stuff. I've seen that one fall apart as well. The Bimini to Albright is typically my preferred, and following that, I think I've got a new favorite too with this RP knot. It takes a lot for me to get behind a knot, enough to use it and recommend it. I think this is a good connection, and certainly there are some modifications a person can do to it that may make it better. Only testing and trial and error will tell you that one with certainty. But we've got a little video to show that connection, and then part two is another connection showing off our new 12-strand hollow core braid. So we've rounded that line out with ToroTamer from the 16-strand, and now we have a less expensive 12-strand product to work with. Just a bit about that 12-strand. A colored hollow line has been a problem from all manufacturers. You typically come up against clumps of paint, so it doesn't work as well for hollow rigging. There are things you can do to get around that. You can make use of a splicing needle. You can just keep fiddling with the doggone stuff. But in general, it doesn't work as well as the uncolored. So to challenge the factory, we had them do the colored first. We will probably drop in the uncolored 12-strand, and that'll make that much easier. But I was quite impressed with how this came out. We first tried on the 16. That was dandy, but we'll leave the 16 as she sits as an uncolored superior rigging line, and the 12-strand will come into play as a line that works very well. It can bump up above, as far as the leader, bump up above the braid stated test. But in general, I would probably be more inclined to use that at the same test and lower. Because a 12-strand won't open up quite as easily as the 16-strand. I mean, the 16 you can put 130 pound inside of the 40 pound. You can put 80 pound inside of the 20 pound ultra. In the case of the 12-strand, if I'm using 80 pound, I would run typically anything from 50 to 80. On the 60 pound, anything from probably 50 to 60 type of stuff. On the 130, 80 is a breeze, and you can bump up beyond that. Obviously, do 100. But I'd be typically the same or less at this point anyway. We'll see. Without having to do some of the more creative stuff where you're using the loop needle to kind of open it up that much more, and then work your way on through. In any event, enough of me talking. You'll get plenty of that later. We'll do part one and then part two of the videos for ToroTamer, and go from there. Thanks for watching and visiting as always. Bye-bye. Well, actually not bye-bye, it's just to be continued. Okay, we'll use some fairly heavy string for rigging up the RP knot. RP standing for Royal Polaris, which is one of our San Diego-based long-range boats, and a good one. We'll get a little bit of braid. I'll go with some heavier stuff than what you might be used to me playing with. Do some Andy, this is 80 pound. Might be a little easier to see the heavier lines. And we've got 100 pound ToroTamer braid in the colored format being used. Basically, what you're going to do, see if I can zoom in a little bit here. What you're going to do is take, make a loop using your, what would be your leader or your mono or your fluorocarbon. So we have a loop, much like we do with an Albright. Go ahead and run your braid through it. Then give her 5 turns. You may want to do more than that. 5 tests out pretty well. Surprised me. I was thinking that, if 5 is good, 10's got to be better. But 5 or 6 wraps makes for a little smaller knot, ultimately. It's still not the skinniest way to go, but it's not bad. So we have 5 turns on here, and we'll pinch that last. And now what we're going to do is keep wrapping the same direction we started with. So if you started going around it like this, you just keep on going. 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we're going to bring it back through again. We'll go ahead and tighten down, but not all the way. And then holding your 2 main lines, not the tag ends, just your main lines. Give it a quick snap. That'll cinch the knot down. And you can go ahead and trim off your tags. There we go. Okay, so there you have it. It's not a bad connection. Pretty clean. Pretty doggone fast to tie. Now, disadvantage of this compared to doing the Albright, you'll notice the tag end is pointing out. Okay, if that hits the guide, you're going to have a bump or a possible hang-up. That ain't a great thing. You can go ahead and trim it back more, but you still will have a bump going through your guides. If you're running a short topper, a couple of feet or whatever, no big deal. You're not going to hit that problem. However, if you're running a little bit longer top shot, that's something to be avoided. So better to run a longer topper than a short, or if you do go short, go really, really short on this connection. Okay, but it's not a bad knot, and it's pretty doggone fast to tie. I'll do it one more time just to show you one more shot of it. We'll make our loop. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit more. And that's about as good as we're going to get, I think, here. Okay. Okay, so now we've got our loop. We'll bring the braid on through. Let's get rid of that tag line. And we'll start wrapping. Once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. And now we'll pinch down and we'll keep on spinning this. We'll keep on wrapping. Let's get my fingers where they belong. So, once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. And now we'll go back through that loop again. Grab it. Go ahead and tighten down some. And then, once you get it reasonably tight, go ahead and give it a quick snap to seat that knot. Trim off your tags. And go fishing. Now, my own perspective on this knot is that it works best for the light stuff. By light, I mean 20 pound, 30 pound, 40 pound, maybe even 50 pound. But frankly, at 50 or more, I would want to go in a different direction. It's a good knot. And the light stuff, it seats real well. The heavy stuff doesn't really seat as well, in my estimation. And by pulling, I am reducing its strength when I pull real hard. Like that. Once more, just for the sheer joy of it. Make your loop. Come on through. Give her 5 quick turns around both lines. So we have a loop. Bring the line through the braid. Take that braid, go 5 times around. Just once, twice, 3, 4, 5, Oh, what the heck, let's go 6. And now we'll pinch it, we'll come back the same way. 1, 2, 3. 5. Bring it back through. Tighten it down. I should have given myself a little more line to work with, but I didn't do it. Oh, this was not pretty. Tighten it down some. Give her a quick snap. She's seated. Trim off her tags. She's good to go. Not a bad connection. But it ain't as good as going hollow. Okay, we're seated again. We'll give it another test. Again, 30-pound Berkeley big game, 50-pound ToroTamer braid, using the multicolor this time, just so you can see it. Boom. Okay, we broke over 40. Now you can see the mono fractured. The knot held. So I'd say it's a doggone good knot. No negatives for that. I'd feel comfortable using that knot. 5 turns seems good. Probably if you did more wraps, you'd get more out of it. But it ties quickly. The only downside, and I don't know if this shows well, is that tag. The tag is what I'd consider to be a problem. If you're running a top shot of, let's say, within your casting distance. If you're doing 3 feet a leader, cool. You're not going to have that going through the guides hanging you up. However, if you're going 25 yards, you might run into a little difficulty with that point. Nicer to have that tag coming back the other direction like the reverse Albright would do. But this is not a bad knot. Not at all. And it is quick and easy to tie. Probably something you can feel pretty doggone comfortable working with. At least 50-pound and down, I would suggest. Going beyond that, I would go towards a hollow core, personally. And you could make an argument to go hollow core, period. But if you have to do something quick in a hurry, it's a good connection. Not bad.